Welcome to Winged Wolf Podcast. This is the podcast where we're going to keep it real and raw. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty, talking about everything that everyone's so scared to say. We're going to bring them onto the table to interview them about religion, about politics, about eating organic, living off the grid, the masculine, the feminine, their needs, their wants, what is lacking in today's society, this dating world. How do we create that tribe mentality again to get our families back together, to protect our children? We are going to talk about everything. We're going to travel. We're going to have some fun on this show. So let's get to it. Wing and Wolf Podcast. Let's rock and roll. Your host, Elizabeth Mooney.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wing and Wolf Podcast. This is going to be a different podcast because I am backstage at the Grand Ole Opry. I'm here in Cousin Minnie's room. Don't mind my voice. I have a little bit of these Nashville allergies here, but I'm going to be interviewing some musicians and just clips and videos showing you around backstage. So it'll be a different kind of episode. So Wing and Wolf, your host, Elizabeth Mooney.
Sean knows a lot of history.
He does. And it's bluegrass and country.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the good stuff.
I like to get us. We're going to get them. That's nice. That's very nice. I like it.
Some new ones.
Fan base is so incredible.
I mean, they still sell. I'm afraid Dwayne's gone.
Dwayne's gone.
He'll die on the road.
Dwayne's gone.
Like he said,
I thought he was done, man.
they said that.
Hey everybody, I'm Braden Sean, square dancer here at the Grand Ole Opry. Come see us.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Wing and Wolf Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Mooney, and I'm here backstage at the Grand Ole Opry with my friend, Cotton. He invites me here backstage with him. He plays drums for Bill Anderson. So last minute idea was, let me film backstage and have this podcast. And Cotton's been in this business for so long, lots of stories. So just introduce yourself, where you're from, what you've done.
Cotton Payne, and I'm from Poteet, Texas, which is south of San Antonio, about 30 miles. And I've been in this business since I was 14 years old.
Oh, how did you get into
Actually
business?
started playing when I was 9.
9?
Yeah,
How
but
did
I
you
didn't
get
play in
into
a band, I just practiced.
What did you start? The drums you started?
Yeah, always. It's always been drums. I played bass a little bit, but drums is the main thing, so.
And you told me the story in the past. So how did you start playing drums?
I started on a yellow trash can.
Right.
Till I beat a hole in it. And me and my brothers used to go to a little bar down the street, and when my parents were gone, and play music, and they'd tip us. And one time they came home early and caught us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they went down to the bar, and the people got in an argument with them, telling them they leave them alone, let them play.
Yeah, because they enjoyed it.
No, we went home. But that's how it started. Then later on, I got in a band and started playing. I've traveled most of my life. You know, I've never.
So all different bands to travel.
Oh yeah. I used to play back home. I played with Daryl McCall. I used to play some with Johnny Bush and Frenchie Burke. And then when I moved up here, and then I went to work with Gary Stewart in the 70s.
Cool.
When he came, he was Charlie Prade's piano player at the time, and he got a record deal with RCA. And about 6 months after his record deal, we started playing with the band that we call the Drugstore Cowboys back home. We played with him till I quit in '81, and then came back in '87. I played with Daryl McCall after that, And then Daryl wasn't working a whole lot, but I mean, he worked, but I needed more, you know. So
Right.
a friend of mine, Hank Singer, he was playing with George Jones at the time. I said, "Man, come up, you know, we'll get you a gig up here." So I came up here and went to work with Janie Fricky.
Oh, and how old were you around then?
I was 31 at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then Janie, I played with her for about
That's
3.5 years. Then came back to Nashville because I lived in Morristown then, and then moved back to Nashville and played around town for a little while. And then I went to work with the Bellamy Brothers and played for them about 6.5 years. And the road wore me out, so I left that and came back home and was playing at the Spoke over here in town here in Nashville. And a guy named Danny Davis was playing bass for Porter Wagner. He started subbing in the house band I was playing in. He said, "If I get you an opera gig, would you take it?" And I said, "Yeah." So he come in the next week and threw me a piece of paper and said, "Call that guy," and it was Bill's guitar player.
Bill Anderson, who you're going to see the clip
So
of
I've been with him for
playing.
28 years now.
28 years with Bill.
Yeah,
Wow, that's such a great relationship
Yeah.
for so long.
yeah, good guy.
Yeah, so Cotton plays for Bill, and you'll see the video clips. I was just recording them while they were playing.
Yeah.
So, and then Cotton, he also plays at Music City Bar and Grill, which is right by my dance studio,
Right.
Country Fusion. That's how we met. And Cotton's been such a good friend for the past 4 years of me being here, and he brings me, and you know, this is just such a wonderful piece of history and experience in the music world. So it's such a blessing that Cotton brings me, and everyone jokes around that I'm the only one that can sing. Like, of course Liz is going.
Right.
Tonight they're like, "Oh, do you know where everything is?" I'm like, "Yeah." Eddie's like, "She's been here a bunch of times."
Yeah, she knows. She's a big girl.
She's a big girl.
She'll find her way. She's good. That's great.
So would you say any tribulations through these years of anything that you were going through that like kind of was like knocking you off course, but in your mind you're like, "Nope, this is what I have to do. This is my passion. It's my purpose," and you just kept on going?
Yeah, no, I stayed my course. I mean, that's what I come up here to do. You know, if I'd have failed at it, it'd have been different. Probably I'd have moved back and did something else, you know, but...
Were there any points
I mean, back home was good. The reason I left was because a lot of clubs were shutting down and gigs were getting few and far between. So that's when Hank called. He said, "Man, come on up." So I said, "Yeah, it's time to go." But I was in that band back home. We were together like 20 years. You know, we've been through a lot, you know, played with a lot of different people and stuff. Even Johnny Rodriguez. I mean, we used to back him up when he first came out.
Wow.
Not all the time, but a lot of times we did. You know, he didn't really have a band back then, so we used to back him up.
Wow.
And stuff like, even Gene Watson, we did him a few times back then, you know, so. Yeah, it was cool. Stoney Edwards, you know, he was with Capitol Records, and I was with him before Gary. Actually, we left Stoney because Capitol Records wasn't doing him right, and he was fighting with them, and they weren't booking him right and weren't, you know, pushing him like they were supposed to. So he ended up leaving them. So we left, and that's when we had run into Gary, and then he said, "Man, you guys want to go on the road?" And we all said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
that started with him, but.
So it really just started as a kid?
But I've stayed the course, the whole, you know,
You stayed the
music.
course. Was there any times that, like, the phone wasn't ringing, there wasn't work, and you were kind of like, "Oh, what am I going to do?" Was there any?
Oh yeah, I've cooked in a assistant living place. I was chef in there, you know, cooking for all
like
them
cooking?
and stuff. I do enjoy that. You know,
know that.
I love barbecuing and stuff like that. So, can't you tell? But no, I did that when it was slowed down, and but I haven't had to do that a long time. So
right. But
It's
that's
been
what you did
it's
too.
been good. So
Good.
yeah. I'm done with touring.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on the bus no more. I've had plenty of that.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from a lot of musicians, that they're just like done with the touring. Like, I feel like most people, that's like their dream, and then after you do it for a while, then you're like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm good.
There's not too many places we haven't been. So
yeah, like you've been there, you've done it.
And with the Bellamy's, I mean, I traveled all over the world, really. A lot of places I thought I would never go,
Right.
you know, and that was a good experience. It's just those guys were gone all the time. They do 275 dates a year. That's not much time at home.
No.
I learned that the first year I was with them, so
Yeah.
it was pretty hard. But
So now you're at the Opry Saturday nights with Bill Anderson, and then Music City Bar and Grill. That's mainly
Fridays we do Tim Culpepper, and then Rodney that owns Music City. I play for him too, so
you stay busy
stay busy.
here in Nashville.
Absolutely.
And to close off this episode, any advice for upcoming musicians or just people that have a dream or a passion? Maybe they've hit some tribulations and they want to give up. What would be your advice?
Just stay to where your heart is. Be true to your heart and what you want to do, you know, and don't give up. You know, you have to do different things, but your focus is that. You know, that's your goal. That's what I did. You know, I had other jobs. I've driven a truck, you know, and stuff. You know, but my heart was in music, and I kept pushing towards that. And then, you know, I didn't have to do much of that, but I played most of my life, so I've been playing probably 52 years.
Wow,
Yeah,
52 years.
yeah.
But it's so true because growing up, it was, you know, I was a dancer and then actress and all these things, and people were like, why don't you get a normal job or be a teacher or a nurse? And I went to college for a bit, and then, you know, I just started auditioning. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do dietetics, go back to college.
Right,
And I just wasn't in me. And then I went to an assisted living as
Oh,
well.
really?
But to be the entertainment director and like dance and everything. And I remember I got the job and like we were sitting there and in my soul I knew like, and I just said to them, I'm sorry, I can't take this.
Yeah.
Because I knew I still had my passion, my goals. I just started country fusion. And so I understand.
Well, we all do things we don't like to do.
Yeah.
But we do them because we got to survive. So.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
But you always stay focused on what you do and push for that. You
Yeah.
know? Keep striving for
Yeah,
that. You know?
stay the course.
Don't give up.
Don't give up, and
Don't
do
give
it. So I'm here with my good friend Cotton. We're here, the Opry. This is a really cool room. I'll show you a little
The
clip.
makeup room, I believe.
Yeah, and like, what would you say? These are from what, the 1950s?
Oh yeah, you can do your hair,
Yeah, it's so cool.
get a massage.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding.
Well, everyone, thank you for watching. And again, I'm your host, Elizabeth Mooney, with Cotton Payne, Wing and Wolf Podcast.
Bye bye.
The other parking lot, some of the couples is in the trunk of that car.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wing and Wolf Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Mooney. I am here with a friend, Eddie Lange. He is here backstage as well at the Opry. I just interviewed Cotton and now Eddie. So Cotton and Eddie, I know them both from Music City, which is the bar right by my studio. And then back here at the Opry a couple of times, I see Eddie.
We're those guys they call fearless sidemen. Whoever calls us, whatever they need, we'll go do it. You know, it's a rare breed in Nashville.
Eddie plays steel guitar. He is absolutely fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Liz.
I actually took some video of you too, so I could put in this clip.
Well, we'll make sure that I can make all the fixes into that I need before you post it.
So Eddie has a great sense of humor. He definitely just gives it to me when he sees me, just busts on me. So I'll pop in. He's like,
only when you deserve it, though. I mean, it's not ever when you know you're a big star in Music Valley. Everybody knows who you are. You know, so you pop in, pop out. Maybe, no bodyguards or anything, but it's sort of like Elvis coming in and out. You know. Oh, there she goes again. No.
oh, there's Liz. Oh, bye.
Oh, see you, Liz.
And
see you in a
then
couple months.
Eddie goes to me when I first got here. He's like, you definitely, you got to know the right people.
Oh yeah. That's the one thing about Nashville and this town is that we all come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So when you come here, you can kind of get to pick who your people are. You know? And some people don't. I've made that mistake before. You trust the wrong people, you get in with the wrong people, and before you know it, you're on the outs.
I think I went through that in New York.
Oh yeah.
That part of it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a very unique business, as you know, because you basically the music business attracts a lot of people who say they don't fit in a lot of other parts of culture and society or whatever, and because in the music business you can kind of do your own thing and live on the edge, and so let's just say I know a few guys who I might say are sociopaths, but they're very talented.
They're talented.
So they're very,
So play music with them and maybe don't go to their house.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah, exactly. Or you're not sure, really. But anyway.
So Eddie, where did you grow up?
I grew up just northwest of Minneapolis, Minnesota, a town called St. Cloud, and I've played almost my whole life. Really, I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old, and got a steel guitar when I was, I think, 13 or 14. And my dad is a musician and always had a band, and so we grew up playing. My brother and I have a little brother that plays drums and bass and sings great. And I mean, we always were playing. There was always guitars around, drums around. I didn't know any different.
Right.
The family business.
That's wonderful.
So a lot of
holiday parties.
Oh yeah, always jamming. I started playing in clubs with my dad when I was about 15, I think, in high school, and realized when I had so much more money than the rest of my friends did in high school that I might be on the right path if it's something I can make this much money at, or try to make this much money at. But I moved to town to Nashville when I was 19, and just wanted to try to give it a go.
And you've been here ever since? Or
I moved away for about almost 2 years at one point, but basically the last all but 2 years of the last 24 I've been here, so almost 25 years total so far. But I mean, it's home now. I mean, I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else in my life. So
it just makes sense what you do for a living.
Yeah, I can't do anything else. So I'm hoping this lasts a little longer. Hopefully.
So, but Eddie tonight, he just performed twice. So you want to tell him?
Yeah, I've been out here on and off with Bill Anderson. I started with Bill.
Just like Cotton.
Yeah, just like my friend. Actually, Cotton is the reason I'm on this thing with Bill.
Oh.
Cotton and I were playing some downtown back then in the good old days, and he was talking about them needing a steel player in this band, and then I might be a good fit, and he brought me out here and introduced me to everybody, and apparently I stayed the first time about I think 5 years, and then I left for a little while, and then I think I've been back now again for 6 years, maybe 6, 7 years, so probably 10, 12 years total of that time with Bill, and I've been with Connie Smith as well out here since 2020, so about 5 years.
Wow.
And
that'll be the video that I just took.
And they're both two of the last artists out here from the kind of the golden era of the Opry, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And
we didn't mention that.
Yeah.
So Bill is the first.
Bill has been a member longer than anybody ever has. He definitely is not not the show was going for some time before he got here.
Oh, okay.
But he has been a member longer than anybody ever has. 60, I guess it's 64
So the
years.
longest
this year.
running
member ever of the Opry. Is Bill. He joined in the early 60s, and it's pretty incredible that he's still doing it. He's 87 years old and
87, yeah, that's wonderful.
hanging in there. And Connie the same way. Connie's been here about 60 years. She's 83, and they're both doing great. It's amazing.
Yeah,
they're still here.
So now, what made you go from guitar to steel guitar?
Well, I always liked the sound of it. Like I mentioned earlier, my dad always had a band, and he always usually had a steel player in the band. And so I kind of just thought it was cool sounding and looking, and grew up around guys that played it. And of course, you have to be a certain height because when you sit at the guitar, your feet have to be able to reach the pedals and stuff. So you can't start when you're too small, really. But I think I played regular guitar for probably 3 or 4 or 5 years before I got a steel. But I just always wanted to play it, and I got one, and I'm still trying to learn how to play it. I'm still finding stuff on it.
It's such a beautiful sound. Do you have like a clip? I would love to put a clip of just you on this video.
I'll send them to you.
Okay, so now, because I know everyone has to go, what would you say through all of this? You just stayed the purpose, you felt like this is like your calling and passion. Were there any tribulations through it where you're like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore, anything that got in the way, and then something in you got back and stayed the course?
Oh yeah, my biggest I guess you could say demon or anything that I ever had was that all the other, when I was talking about all the stuff that you can get into apart from the music or related to the music, that's what used to get me in trouble a lot, and drugs, and specifically alcohol, because it's always around and available. I mean, what other job in the world do you have where people are just feeding you drinks all night and it doesn't matter? You can just drink all night on the job and nobody cares. And so for me, it was discovering that I had problems with alcohol, and I've been sober now for 13 years.
Good for you.
And I would say if that had not been the case, there would have been a lot of, if I had not been able to get sober, there would have been a lot of issues with my career that would have continued to get worse, whether that be not just bad playing, but, bad attitude to people,
and I'm sure it affects everything, personal relationships.
Absolutely. Oh, no question about it. It was every part of my life. It was affecting my marriage, my everybody. So
you made a decision, I can't go on and forward like this.
I did. And I, luckily I was able to quit before I needed to do, before I was, probably truly like chemically addicted, where I needed to do the rehab and do the hospitalization. That I was able to quit on my own. I did start going to AA and doing the meetings and doing that program, and it worked great. And that's a faith-based system, and I would definitely say that my faith was strengthened throughout that period. But no, like I said, I've been sober for 13 years, and I can't imagine, honestly, at this point, going back to the way I was doing it back then. Even though I thought I probably was doing fine, and everything was going great, and then when you just reach the point where you realize it's not, it's sort of just the biggest wake-up call there is.
And I think that's great for people to hear that, because I'm sure so many people, it's around them, and temptation, and and not just that, could be whether it's women or men, or there's so many temptations. But when you look at I said this in the last episode when I interviewed Casey, that when your purpose, when your goal, when your soul is bigger than those like the devil knocking on your door.
Yeah, the peripheral, the fleeting things, the stuff that doesn't really matter, honestly.
Yeah. You just step away, and the humility kind of grounds you.
Oh yeah.
And puts you back on that path.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of like you reset yourself and figure out why you're really even doing this in the first place. It's something you love. Very few people get to do for a living what they love, or try to, and it's like all the other stuff becomes the distractions, and the you think you can handle it all. You think you can you always have the excuse of, well, that was just this happened just because of this, or this happened just because of this, or I did this in response to this, and it's every day. So then you have to be able to be like, well, I must be the problem, if it's happening every day
And that takes a lot to come to that point of
yeah.
awareness, of self-awareness.
Oh yeah, and I don't think we're naturally that self-aware. You know what I mean? Like because you're always worried about trying to do the best job you can, and also what other people think of you.
Right.
What your peers think of you, your bandmates, your family, whatever. And if it all starts inside you, to be the best person you can be.
When you fill that with happiness and peace and and your health is number one. So now you've been sober and you have a great career. You and Cotton play at the Opry, Music City. Where else that?
I work almost every day, and I get to work with a lot of, everything that I do. I enjoy basically all of it, and everybody that I play with are world-class musicians and
really wonderful people. That's why I've had them on my podcast, because they are very talented, successful, but good people and just good hearts and very humble. I would say all of you.
A lot of, humility is very important, obviously, in any line of work, but the music business can tend to have a lot of big egos.
Yes.
And I feel like generally the best people I know, the nicest people, the nicest people I know in the music business are also the great ones and the most successful, because they are humble and they're, and
that's what I realized too. The most successful are usually the most humble.
Well, generally I feel like the people who are the most talented have figured out, that the talent speaks for itself.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
They don't need to, it's the ones who run their mouth all the time are the ones you got to watch.
I'm sure you guys have a lot.
Well, you have too. You've seen them. You've seen them.
You guys are at least protected on the stage. I'm out there.
Yeah, exactly. You're out. You're out amongst the animals.
I am. Yeah, that's why I'm in and out.
Exactly.
That's why
you can control your environment that way. I know exactly how you feel, because there's lots of times where it's like, you just want to. If you're on break and you just see that person coming, that you just want to get away,
That's why I go in, I dance,
you're just right, Liz. You got it all figured out.
That's why Dancing Robert, he goes, I love watching how you handle.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, it's I think in this world you get good at reading people, and and because you meet every kind of person there is in music. Everybody loves music on some level, so you meet all the great people and all the bad people.
Right. Yeah. So now, closing this episode, because I know everyone needs to go to work. What would be your advice to those that are inspiring to be musicians, upcoming, or just in general, they want to be, anything in life, and they just feel like they can't do it, or the obstacles? What would be the advice to stay on their path, no matter what troubles?
I think that I'm a believer in the fact that everybody is born with something that they're good at. I don't care where you're from, how you were raised. Human beings are amazing. I mean, they can do anything they want to do. So it's like I'm just a believer in find out and keep working until you do find what you're really good at, and just don't let anybody talk you out of it. Basically, and when I say anybody, your family, your friends, the voices in your head, I mean, whatever demons you might encounter, like there's, and a lot of people don't get to do necessarily what they're really good at for a living. I mean, we're blessed that way.
Yeah.
But you have to, even if you're working wherever you're working, digging ditches or, in a plant or at a store or whatever you have to do to make a living, still always find that thing, because it's like, life is so short and we're only here for so long, and just find that thing.
God will show you what it is.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you're lost, you're not sure, just kind of connect, and the answer will be there. So
and be open to whatever that is.
Right there.
The sign.
You need to be open.
The sign can come at any time, probably.
Yeah,
so,
you need to be open so you can receive.
Yep.
So we're going to wrap this up. My friend Eddie Lange.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yep.
Wig and Wolf Podcast, your host, Elizabeth Mooney.
Wing and Wolf.